Okay, so there are a lot of keys on the bassoon, which means we have a lot of alternate fingering possibilities. And there are a couple that you should definitely teach to a new bassoonist right away, just because they're really good options, and in some ways they can make certain notes sound way better. So one of the first ones is when we get to E flat, and actually each of these is going to be in our whisper key range. Okay, so we're in sort of that first octave, not super low, but in the first octave. So we have that whisper key down, and E flat was, remember, that one that's a little bit funky. So we have first finger, third finger, okay? That's E flat. Now, that often does not sound great, and so what you can do to add a couple of keys is add the B flat key, which is this one here above the pancake, and then the middle finger right here, the second finger of the right hand. So here's E flat with and without those alternate fingers. Now, you want to definitely mess around with that with a tuner in front of you, but you can hear there's a significant not only intonation difference, but also quite a tone difference. So that one tends to just be a bit fuller sound. You can decide what you like, but that's actually one of probably the standard fingering for E flat. It's what you learned up here, 1 and 3, and the whisper key with the B flat key and the middle finger. Now, E, where we just have our top finger in the whisper key, without enough support, E often comes out as an E flat. So sometimes that pitch sags so much that it sounds like an E flat when the student's trying to play E natural. Keep in mind that can really go unnoticed if you aren't listening in to that section. But if you're hearing E naturals in the staff that sound flat, then you're definitely going to want to know some solutions for that for your bassoonist. So look for those in the score ahead of time. Now, basically, one of the solutions that's a hard solution would be to actually add a key. So you can add the pancake key. Depending on your bassoon, that may or may not be helpful. Here's the difference. So I've just got my E, whisper key, and my one finger for E. So you can hear it brings the pitch up just a little bit. And I find it actually, on my bassoon, makes more of a difference when I'm not using enough air, but it can help the student get up to pitch if they're having a hard time. Another thing is to make sure they're voicing do, and so that they have plenty of air support on that note, and plenty of air speed, I should say. And then one final option would be to actually mess around with the reed a little bit by opening the tip a little bit. But the pancake key can be the solution for an E that's flat. But in general, if that E is sinking, that means that they are not using enough air, so the air embouchure balance is a little bit off, and that's causing the E to come out as an E flat. The last one that you should always teach a new bassoon student is actually one you already know. So we learned our half-hole G with a half-hole and all the other fingers here and the whisper, and it's when we added this pinky key right here, okay? And I mentioned it in the first video simply because it's so important that G gets played with this pinky. But that's the other alternate fingering you should definitely teach a new bassoonist right there, okay? So the three were this weird E flat, adding the middle finger and the thumb. That's your alternate E flat fingering. Then there was E natural, where it's just whisper and first finger, and we can add our pancake key, or we can just voice and try to have good air. And then the last one was our half-hole G fingering, where we're adding this pinky key right here. Okay? So those three are really critical. Now the other ones are just so that you understand some of the big buttons here on the bassoon, what they're for. So we know that we generally use thumb for F sharp. This one right next to the key, but there's this other guy right next to F sharp. You've probably accidentally pressed it trying to play an F sharp. This is an alternate for G sharp, or A flat, which normally is played with the pinky here. So this right-hand pinky is the same key, or does the same thing as this thumb key back here. Now, just like a clarinet has left hand and right hand fingerings that sometimes have to be worked out in a technical passage, switching left and right so that we don't have to do any sliding, that's what this is for. You have a G sharp here in the back in case playing front G sharp with the pinky is not practical. Now, that's actually pretty uncommon. But what's more common is using the alternate for F sharp. So we normally use this F sharp key back here, but the alternate is that last pinky key that maybe you were wondering if it's even a key, right here, down from the low F key. So the low F key is here, and then there's another key you can press, basically right in from that. And it looks quite a bit different on different bassoons, but basically, that's your alternate F sharp. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers, whisper key in this case, and the thumb for F sharp, my thumb here, instead of that fingering, I can just lift the thumb and use this F sharp fingering right here, okay? So now I've got my pinky F sharp. And it's actually common to use this pinky F sharp for half hole for two reasons. One is that because you're going over the break from open F to F sharp, it's a little simpler to just put all these fingers down, including the pinky right here on the F sharp alternate. Just slap all those down and learn to do that with a half hole index finger. And there is my upper octave F sharp. That's the one on the fourth line in the bass clef. Now, the other reason is that it actually sounds a little bit better in a lot of cases and on a lot of bassoons than using our thumb F sharp. Okay, so this is a great alternate to teach, but you definitely want to know what this button is for here in case a student asks you. So that's your alternate F sharp, and it does the same thing as this F sharp here. And this is your alternate G sharp. It does the same thing as this pinky key right here. Okay, now C sharp is worth reviewing one more time. We had it where we play 3 keys at once, whisper, C sharp key, and the D key here, 3 at once when we play C sharp in the staff, second space C sharp. And that needs to be a pivoting motion here, okay? So the thumb never leaves the whisper key. It just rolls or pivots up onto those other keys, okay? And then there's actually an alternate for C sharp above the staff. So first ledger line above the staff, C sharp, has an alternate fingering called long C sharp, okay? And basically what you're going to do is put down just that C sharp key, okay? So just the C sharp key that we had to, combine in with the whisper and the thumb a second ago. And the regular fingering up here, remember, is just rolling off of the whisper key. The low version is with the whisper key, and the octave up is just rolling off and losing the whisper key. But in this special alternate, we just use the C sharp key, no D key over here. And that's the first part. We just use C sharp here. And so we're trading the long D, the one we lifted up just now. We're trading that for these 3 fingers at the bottom, our middle finger, ring finger, and pinky. Okay? And at the same time, we need to make sure that our 1, 2, 3 top fingers are in place, just like they would be for C sharp. Okay? So C sharp always has these top 3 fingers, whether we're doing low C sharp, 1 whisper key, C sharp, and D key. That's our low C sharp. Roll up off the whisper key and keep the top 2 for high C sharp. And if you want to use long C sharp or the alternate, that's only for C sharp up above the bass clef. And that means leave the D key, lift the thumb just enough to get off the D key, but keep the C sharp key and add 1, 2, 3 fingers with your low F key down here at the bottom. Okay? So here is C sharp and then C sharp long. Okay? Now the long fingering. Back to the regular fingering. So when I get it up to pitch, the tone is pretty nasty, but I can use pinky, ring finger, middle finger in that C sharp key, and it comes out a lot easier. So if you're having a real hard time and your C sharp is really, really flat, then try long C sharp. Okay? So those are the main alternate fingerings you should be aware of, and there are many more, and a good fingering chart will help you know what to use when. Most of the time, other than those guys, those other alternate fingerings are going to be for those technical passages where your bassoonist says, hey, is there another way to play one of these notes? And in that case, you can look it up. But the ones in this video would be the ones you should just know, okay? So there's your alternate fingerings. Practice on some of those and try it with and without the alternate fingering to see what it does on the bassoon that you're playing.